Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, welcome to the second episode of the Tales from the Pre podcast. I am Milton, your host for today and forever. And today with me, I have a really special guest. Is a former King of the Death Matches participant, is a former Masters of Pain participant. He also took part in the Tournament of Death on a lot of occasions and is a Carnage Cup champion. Also former IWA Tag Team champion along with Jill Patricks in the Young Dragons. Ladies and gentlemen, never say die, Josh Crane. Welcome to the podcast, man.
Thanks for having me, dude. I'm really pumped to sit and have a conversation with you.
Yeah, I'm pretty pleased to have you today because I have a lot of good questions to ask you. Starting with the first one, and what I want to ask you is that you're one of the toughest deathmatch in the beast right now. So it's pretty weird for someone that you are also a Harry Potter and Pokemon fan. So what I want to ask you is, how did Matsunaga matches, death matches like BJW, FMW, and shit like that came up for you at the same time with typical childhood entertainment?
So, so. What specifically do you want to know about this question? How does the death matches compare to the other stuff?
Yeah, sort of. Like, how did you enjoy those things at the same time? Because it was the same for me. I watched Edge versus Mick Foley from WrestleMania 22 at Disney movies as well. I was like 9.
Yeah, exactly. It's basically exactly like that. I'd go from a Saturday I'd watch, Pokemon in the morning, SpongeBob in the evening, and then, Big Japan alligator death match with Matsunaga in the evening. So it was like cartoons were super easily accessible, and I only had a small amount of deathmatch footage when I was younger. I don't think I even had the internet until I was like maybe 15. So I only had the tangible footage I had. And I've mentioned before, I don't want to go too much into it all the time, but like being abused as a kid, something about the death matches made me feel like I could be strong too. So I would feel comfortable watching Pokemon, SpongeBob, Harry Potter stuff, but then watching the death matches made me feel like I could take control of the abuse like these guys do.
Yeah, I can totally understand you. I have some bullying problem as well when I was in high school and also in elementary school. It wasn't that good, so I can understand why deathmatch wrestling, particularly violent wrestling, sorted up in this environment, in this situation. Like it can be really motivating you to do better. Just try to face the adversities and stuff like that. So I can totally understand. And if I can remember correctly, maybe in 2010, because you're 25, right?
Yep.
So in 2010, when I was like 13, there wasn't, well, I never heard of tape trading in 2010, to be honest, but I think it was just, obsolete at that time with all the DVDs, the online shopping, and shit like that. And the second question is just about this. We were talking about this with Big Fucking Joe in the first episode because you were talking in one of your posts about buying your childhood. Like you had all this awesome Pokemon set, trading card collection, and shit like that. And there's also another argument that people always come out with. Uh, you can also apply this to wrestling because there are tons of material on Amazon, eBay, Smart Video, and there's a lot of streaming services as well. So what I want to ask you is, do you think it's better to work your ass out to find something you like, or maybe have all this stuff near you that you can actually enjoy every moment, like with independent wrestling TV and shit like that?
Yeah, that's a hard one because I'm sure a lot of people find themselves like there's got to be a best of both worlds situation, but like with IWTV, they just added all the JAPW, or at least a lot of JAPW, and here I am thinking that I had every bit of footage I possibly could want, and I totally forgot about the 2009s, 2010s when I couldn't get JAPW unless I had $25 and did the mail order. So now I'm like, oh yeah, I guess I kind of forgot that there's still footage out there that can be searched for and found. So I think right now that it's a good medium, but there are times where we can feel spoiled. Like I have so much footage that I have an overload and I'll sit down, the kids will be asleep, my wife's asleep. I have 3 hours to watch some footage and I just have too much. I just scroll through it for an hour and a half.
Yeah, too much is not always better, but what I think that I agree with you is you have too much. You're like, what I'm gonna watch right now? Because before you just had, for example, two ECW show, because I'm a really ECW enthusiast, to be honest. And maybe you had two ECW shows to watch, and you watched them again and again and again. Now you're just, oh my god, I can watch Barely Legal 1997, but you can also watch The Night the Line Was Crossed 94 like it is nothing. And I'm pretty sure
Yeah.
some events from the late past of Extreme Championship Wrestling were more harder to find. Like not now. You can just go to the WWE Network and type "The Night the Line Was Crossed" and you're gonna see Funk, Douglas, and Sabu getting at each other and tear the house
Yeah.
down for an hour. I really love that match, to be honest. And the third question I want to ask is, you're a former Carnage Cup champion as you captured the title in 2017. So uh, there's a lot of people who talk shit about that promotion and about its owner. So how did you like feel in that environment, working in like a camp with like 20, 30 people maybe, and you won in a pretty good final as well with Dale Patrick's.
Yeah, that was it was interesting. I'm not going to say anything negative about it or anything like that. It was every experience in wrestling, even when it is negative, it's still a cool experience. So it was that. I will admit, when we pulled up, the whole car was kind of like, this is weird. The ring was down like in a little cavern, so the few fans that were there were like on a hill watching us. So that was different. And then the locker room was just behind a couple trees up on the other side of the hill. So just those weird things you have to get used to of like, we are about to hurt each other. We're about to do some very dangerous stuff, but we don't have an entrance. We don't have a locker room. There's really no like, it's just a bunch of people in a gigantic pit in the middle of a random place in Tennessee. So it was interesting, but I definitely had a good time. Minus once we got to hour 8 of the show, that's when I started getting a little bit like, all right, I'm ready to wrap this up and go home.
All right. So what you're trying to say is you had actually no problem in booking, scheduling, and the environment with it, but it was a bit weird. Like I'm gonna do my shit and then go home, just get paid, and that's it.
Yeah, that's how I try to handle most of my stuff, even in like the worst of situations. Usually, it can't really be all that bad. So I try to take it for what it is. Just admire, like, hey, this is a weird situation. I'm wrestling next to a taco shack and doing 500 light tubes, and then that's it. I don't need to sit around and be upset by it all day like some people.
Oh yeah, I can totally agree with that. People are never happy with themselves. And another question. So I don't want to ask you what you prefer because it's like choosing between your mama and your father. Like there's two totally different things. But you've made it in Japan. Like you went to Big Japan Pro Wrestling, same promotion that you were idolizing as a kid, and you were celebrating by none other than Mr. Danger Matsunaga himself. Former Wing legend, former FMW legend, BJW legend. You won championship in pretty much every major Japan deathmatch promotion, and you had epic battles with Leatherface, with Mr. Pogo, and stuff. So, what I want to ask you is what changes between Japan deathmatch show environment and the American one?
So like differences between a show in Japan and a show here.
Yeah, basically like fans, the approach that fans have to the show, the respect that they have for the wrestlers that is different from the one in the United States of America, and maybe how the hardness of the spots changes between one country to another.
Yeah, I don't know if it's this drastic, but I would really say like it's almost night and day. It's two completely there's upsides and downsides to both. But it's like I mean, one, the fans, they do treat it as a real sport. It's very respected. And everyone says what it's like in Japan for the crowd as far as they kind of be quiet and let you do your stuff. And then when you have a break, they have some polite clapping. So the crowd is very different. And then, how it's treated match wise. When you're on a tour, the first time I went to Japan, it was for a month. So I really wanted to go hard the first couple nights, and they wouldn't even let me bleed on night one because that was night one of, 16 or 17 nights. So, excuse me. So they were like, you have to save longevity of your body. And I tried to take that here as well, but especially when the pandemic hit, now it's kind of like every match has to be your biggest match. But that's something very different with American deathmatch wrestlers. Even if they have Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and then another show on Wednesday, Thursday, they're probably going to murder themselves every single night of the week. And sometimes, if we've seen recently, get hurt and not be able to do the rest of the matches. So that is not the goal in Japan, to kill yourself and not be able to go to your next show. So that's a very big difference.
Yeah, so that actually in the last Game Changer Wrestling show in Japan, the first of the 2 days tour, it was like Orin Veidt and Masashi Takeda, if I remember correctly, and Takeda totally fucked up his back and couldn't like continue the match. But before doing that, it was going 200%, and it was fucking awesome. So the endurance, in my opinion, of Japanese deathmatch competitors is uncomparable to others. Yeah, as you say, it is two different worlds, two different worlds. And just because we're talking about this, I want to ask you an extra one. The 16, 17 days tour, how is it like? How can you smash light tubes on your head, having gusset plates, needles, also scorpions for 16, 17 days and just get out of the bed and handle it?
Well, thankfully, so the upside and downside for me was my first tour, I didn't have a light tube match until basically the last half of the tour. All my matches were barbed wire boards, concrete blocks, and ladders and chairs. But once I did get a light tube match, it was back to back in two different cities that were very far away. So I remember thinking, like, all right, light tubes on the ropes, basic, probably like between 100 and 200 light tubes. It is in a 6-man tag, so they make sure that, everyone can be relatively safe. But
Yeah.
even in the 6-man tags, they still go pretty dang hard. If there's 6 people total in the match, each person's pairing off with each other for possibly 5 to 10 minutes at a time, doing long stretches of very athletic movements. Unlike, a lot of death matches can be just smash and slash type stuff where it's like smash each other over the head and then we kind of like walk around breathing for a few minutes. They'll do all kinds of really extravagant spots, except there's a giant bundle of light tubes involved. So once I had my first, I was already hurting by the first one, but once I had that first light tube death match, I ended up getting hurt and messed my hip up really bad. And the next day we had like 8-hour drive and then another light tube death match. And I was thinking, man, I'm glad this wasn't the beginning of the tour. I don't know how I would do another, 2 weeks of this being injured because they're always on the road.
Yeah, the tour can be very hard. It can be very unforgivable, I imagine. And another question about a promotion in which you're particularly a regular. I've recently seen the match that involved you and Dill Patricks against JC Rotten and Ian Rotten, the two out of three falls, the 3 stages of
Oh, yeah.
hell, let's say like this. And I noted one thing: there's some shows of IWA Mid South that are really jam-packed, really active crowd ones, and then there's something like that. You actually face the legend, the absolute legend of IWA Mid South, the founder, the boss, the institution of IWA Mid South, Ian Rotten, in live, and his son, who is really talented. I suggest anyone to watch some JC Rotten stuff. And you had a 30-minute fight. In my opinion, Ian Rotten was a little bit too slow, but I can understand that because it went too far for like 25 years from ECW to CZW to in the end IWM Mid-South. And you had a really serious, really hard-hitting match in some ways. And how did it feel to have not less people, like 10 people at most, but how did it feel wrestling for 30 minutes with no encouragement from the fans? Because watching it from home, I mean, it was pretty sad in my opinion. It was a good match, but it was sad to see it. Like, I'm not talking about the rewarding of bleeding for the fans, and they're just 10 fans sitting there and they're like, okay, I'm gonna pop whenever the fuck I want. But wasn't it frustrating for you?
Yeah, 100%. That's like, I don't know how everyone else is, but for me, I am like 1,000% driven by the fans.
Yeah.
Even if there's only a couple, if you are like even saying anything, if I'm looking at you and my face is covered in blood, and I have a litany of legitimate injuries that just completely kill me every match. And if I look up and I'm looking for your support, and you just you straight up look at me, like, it sucks the energy right out of me. Especially if I'll sometimes go as far to ask, like, I point and say, hey, you cheer for me, please, come on, and they'll just be like, just looking
Like
around,
fucking
like,
tickets, man.
yeah, there's three people in the row. I'm talking to you. Can you, like, I'm covered in blood. So that one, not only does it kill me, but that one is really rough in particular. I kind of forgot it even happened until you brought it up. But because it was so long, 30 minutes felt like an hour. And then everything kept going wrong. Dale got put through that giant wall. Ian power bombed him, and the wall, like, just barely dented. That almost killed him. And then JC Rotten, I put him through the table, and the table wouldn't break. It was just
Yeah,
like
fucking
one thing
Japanese
after
thing.
another. Yeah, yeah,
And it was a shame because I think it will be great. That spot will be great. And you were tag team partner with Dale Patricks in that one. So you've been friend, you've been rival, you face each other like tons of times, mostly in barefoot death matches, which is really hurting just by thinking about that for me. I'm really sensible to feet damages. But what's your relationship with Dale? Like from a human standpoint and professionally.
we've been friends since, I think, 2012, which really, it doesn't sound like it's all that long, but
Yeah.
I had just retrained in wrestling. I just got trained by Drake Younger and Scotty, and kind of had another go at it. And he just came out of the School of Rock, and we were kind of both trying to just prove ourselves. And ever since then, we clicked. And then on top of that, Ace Perry became a very close friend of ours. So Ace Perry doesn't do death matches, but still, even when Dale and I are out doing death matches, sometimes he'll even come to the shows with us to support us. So Dale and Ace are both, like, personally, professionally, my best friends, and some of my favorite people to work with.
Yeah. There's nothing better than beating each other up with the best friends. I think it's the best feel in the world because you know you're gonna love each other also after the match. And Dale is a regular, let's say he's a regular now in ICW No Holds Barred. Would you like to be part of one of their shows in the foreseeable future? I think they're
Oh
doing
yeah,
great.
yeah. ICW is like, they're straight up killing it. I love the concept. I love I like that they're specifically putting over some of the dudes that aren't getting chances. Kind of like Dale. I think Dale's good and hasn't got certain opportunities other places. So the fact that they're using him, skyrocketing Akira, using some of these other dudes, so it seems like a really awesome place.
Yeah, saw that spot from Akira in the first event. The second event, I think it was against Reed Bentley, who is a talent that I've been defending like for years. He's really underrated in my opinion. He will deserve like the biggest spots on the card, like everywhere. Him and John Wayne Murdoch are great.
Yeah.
And I think I will do something new on this podcast. So I saw that most people do it. I recently saw G Raver, bless him, calling out Joker from CCW, the classic, the CCW original Joker, from the Blackout and all that stuff. the Cambodian ex-murderer, just him. So I want to ask you, there's someone just even for uh, future show, foreseeable future, or just something that is gonna happen in a long distance that you want to call out? Do you want to call out someone that you will really like to face?
Hmm. Yeah, there's two people I want. I don't like calling people out necessarily because it's so difficult depending on the situation for it to actually pan out. Kind of like a Matt Tremont Onita situation. What are the odds that call out actually worked? So I feel like a lot of people jumped on the call out bandwagon. Like, let me jump on the internet and I'm gonna call this
Yeah,
fella out. So I've never personally tried to do it, but if I were to call someone out, it'd be two people out in particular, and they're head to head. One of them will happen, I guarantee it. Um, the one that might not is Jun Kasai. He's like the number one of the people I've idolized. I would like to fight him a great deal, but I don't know if it's ever going to happen. So that's one that, there's BJW and Freedom's things going on, especially when you bring in a foreigner. Depending on the situation, you can't do all the companies. So at least when someone like me who's freelance and isn't going over with a company, I kind of have to do the negotiating myself. So it's not easy to
yeah,
be like, hey, can you just zip Jun Kasai over? So, and then the other one is I want to wrestle Takeda in a singles match. Tag match would be okay, but he was supposed to, when he got injured with Orin, that match put him out. He was supposed to be in the Scorpion Death match. That's something, not everyone knows that. I don't know if I'm supposed to say that, but he was supposed to be in the Scorpion match and got replaced with Sakuda. So, yeah, him I want to fight because he made some comments after a match. He made some comments and then was very cool to my face. So now I would like to actually end up having the match and drop him on his head.
yeah. I want to clear something that I didn't clear at the first place. In the first place, this cool out environment is just because I'm a like dream match guy. Like, if I will be a wrestler, I will always think about the opponents that I want to face. So I'm just doing it in a podcast from now on because I wanna hear who people want to challenge, not in a like not necessarily in a competition environment, but like calling them out just to tell what they think of them, if they think they're great. But I mean, Takeda and Kazai don't need any presentation, an introduction. They're awesome.
Everyone wants to face
Everyone
Takeda and
knows.
Kasai.
Yeah. Also, I've heard Chris Dickinson considers him one of his favorites. Like after watching the special on the best of Takeda on Independent Wrestling TV, something that I suggest to pretty much fucking everyone because it's fucking awesome.
Yeah.
And so I just wanted to hear what you have to say about the people that you want to challenge. And I hope to see you. I hope that one day you're gonna face Takeda and Kazai, as well as you've like faced Ito in a six-man match. You've teamed with Minoru Fujita, who was a legend, and I'm pretty sure it was an honor. And I hope you're gonna achieve lots of honors as well in the future. And last question, we went like shorter than I thought, but it was a pretty stacked interview from start to finish. So, last question I want to ask you is, what's your favorite Harry Potter movie? Not wrestling related, of course.
Oh, all right. Well, you said we went kind of short, and now we're not going to end till like 5:15. So, favorite movie I think is this one. I go back and forth on all the time, but I think it's Prisoner of Azkaban.
Me too, man. Me too. I fucking
That
love
one's
that
so
movie.
good.
It's so good because it's like a transitional one in some sort because Voldemort has not risen again. But it's good because it puts lots of things on the plate, like Sirius Black coming back, like
Oh yeah, I love that.
presenting himself. And it's from Quaron. My brother knew him once. He, he has a house here in Italy, like 1 hour from my place. And after he won the Oscars for Gravity, which I haven't seen yet, and sorry if I if I did say that, but he met him. He was a really nice guy.
Oh, that's
He also
cool.
Yeah, his Oscar in a bag under his under his back. The Oscars, the legit Oscars.
Yeah.
And do you think the gothic component of it like made him a good movie, or just all the environment like the werewolf situation, the the construction, the building of of something that is gonna happen after it? Like, what do you like most of that movie?
Yeah, I think kind of like you said, it's the perfect like transitional movie. You know, one and two all had the same central theme. Four has a very central theme. So three is a nice like taking a break from things, but introducing some really awesome characters. And I didn't get into Harry Potter until 2017. So I had only I think I saw one and two when I was really little. So when it came up to the Prisoner of Azkaban, I legit had no clue what was going on. It was all brand new to me. Nothing had been spoiled. So the whole serious reveal like blew my mind. In fact, I think I'm going to watch it tonight now. Now that we're talking about it.
Yeah, I saw you were watching the second one like days ago. So
Yeah, I'm trying to finish them all before the weekend. So see if I can get that done.
I recently did a marathon of it, so I'm pretty sure you're gonna enjoy it as you did the first time. And after this Potterheads related topic, I really enjoyed this interview. Really enjoyed to have you as a guest, and I hope to see you against the Cat and Kazai and in a bigger environment that you have been till right now. For you, just subscribe my channel, like the video, like Josh Crane on both Instagram and YouTube. Watch his video, watch his matches. This guy can fucking do it. Can fucking get at it pretty hard. He had needles in his cheeks. He had light tubes on his head, on his back. He had a fucking match with scorpions. You wouldn't do a match with scorpions, so he's fucking badass. Just support him and everything that he does, and support the Tales from the Pit podcast. Till next
Yes,
time,
sir.
boys, and thank you for coming to my podcast, Josh. All the best,
Thanks for
man.
having me, dude. Absolutely.